Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're getting into the nitty-gritty of money habits. Those things that can either make or break your financial well-being.
Absolutely.
We all want a bit more financial freedom, right?
Of course.
Not necessarily talking about being rich, but just having that breathing room, being able to make choices without money always being the deciding factor.
Makes sense.
So, to help us out today, we're going to be looking at some insights from two YouTube finance gurus, Nisha and Wint Wealth. Should be interesting.
Yeah, they've got some good stuff.
Let's kick things off with Nisha and her take on the importance of paying yourself first. I've heard this before, but could always use a reminder.
Oh, yeah, it's super important.
It's so easy to fall into the trap of paying bills first and then, maybe having a little left over for savings, if you're lucky.
Right, but it shouldn't be an afterthought, It should be a priority.
So true.
It's like Robert Kiyosaki says in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, paying bills first and then saving whatever's left. That's the poor people's habit.
Oh, interesting way to put it.
Flip the script. Treat savings like a non-negotiable expense, like a bill you have to pay, but to your future self.
I like that. A bill to your future self.
Aim for at least 10% of your income right off the bat.
Just automatically put it away.
Exactly. Make it a habit.
Love that. It's like setting up that automatic transfer to savings and then just forgetting about it.
Exactly. Out of sight, out of mind.
Speaking of things we wish we could forget about, credit card debt.
Oh, the dreaded plastic.
Ugh, those tempting little pieces of plastic that can cause so much trouble.
Nisha really warns about how credit card companies, they profit from our financial missteps, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You gotta think about it. The average credit card interest rate, it's a crazy 22%. That's serious money going towards interest payments instead of your actual goals.
Ouch, yeah, that's painful to even think about.
It's like a vicious cycle sometimes.
It really is. That's why having an emergency fund is so important.
Couldn't agree more.
Because if you have that cushion, if something unexpected comes up, you're less likely to reach for the plastic.
Totally. It's your safety net.
So car repairs, surprise medical bill, even losing your job. Life happens, right?
It does, unfortunately.
Having that safety net, that 6 months worth of living expenses, that can really prevent a stressful situation from turning into a full-blown financial disaster.
Absolutely. It's peace of mind.
So we're paying ourselves first. We're building that emergency fund. What's next on Nietzsche's list of bad money habits?
Well, not tracking your income and expenses, that's a big one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's so easy to overspend when you really don't have a clear picture of where your money's actually going.
It's like trying to drive with your eyes closed.
Sorta.
You're bound to crash eventually.
Exactly. You need a roadmap.
And it's not just about knowing where your money is going, but also understanding your starting point.
Absolutely. Got to know where you're at before you can figure out where you're going.
Right. How can you set goals if you don't know where you stand financially? It's like trying to run a race without knowing the starting line.
Makes sense.
Then there's the danger of lifestyle inflation. You get a raise, you start making more money, and then...
We start spending more.
Exactly. You start spending more money. Before you know it, you're not really any better off.
Yeah, it's a trap.
I've been there.
We all have.
It's like thinking, oh, I deserve this fancy coffee every day now that I got a promotion. But all those little splurges add up.
They really do. It's the little things sometimes.
So what can we do? What can we do to combat this besides just, trying to be more mindful?
I think simple tools can make a world of difference.
Okay. Like
budgeting apps are super popular these days, or even going old school, a spreadsheet, even just a notebook.
Okay, keep it simple.
The key is just to be aware of your spending and make conscious choices about where your money's going.
Absolutely, make those conscious choices.
Yep.
Now, speaking of choices, sometimes our hobbies can be a bit of a drain on our finances.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Nisha talks about those expensive hobbies,
I know exactly what you mean.
like designer clothes, luxury travel, or collecting expensive items.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a hobby, but it's worth asking yourself if it's aligning with your financial goals,
Right.
Are you sacrificing your future for a temporary thrill?
It's a good question to ask yourself.
Could you maybe find a less expensive way to enjoy that same hobby?
That's such a good point. And something else Nisha emphasizes is that saving alone won't build wealth.
Right. It's only part of the equation.
She actually says, and this is a great quote, you can't build wealth if you're making more money and spending all of it, but you also can't if you're just focusing on the saving side, because there is a cap to how much you can save.
Yeah, she's spot on.
You can't just save your way to wealth. You have to also focus on earning.
Absolutely. Got to look at both sides.
So while saving is essential, it's equally important to explore ways to actually increase your income.
Think about investing, side hustles, or even just negotiating a raise at your current job.
Don't be afraid to ask for what you're worth.
Exactly. Advocate for yourself.
Sometimes we get so focused on cutting back that we forget about the other side, bringing in more money.
It's all about balance.
Okay, so we've covered saving, spending, and earning. What else is lurking in the shadows of bad money habits?
Taxes. Nisha reminds us that taxes are probably the single biggest expense in our lives.
Oh man, don't remind me.
But yet so many people, they just don't really understand the rules.
Yeah, it can be confusing.
And they don't understand how taxes can really impact their wealth.
It's like playing a game where you don't know all the rules. You're bound to make some costly mistakes.
Exactly. You're playing at a disadvantage.
We need to make sure we're getting the most out of our money.
Absolutely.
And that includes understanding the tax system.
Right. Knowing how to legally minimize your tax burden can make a huge difference in the long run.
Oh yeah, every little bit counts.
Things like investing through tax-advantaged accounts, ISAs, Roth IRAs, those can help you keep more of your hard-earned money.
Smart moves.
It's about being smart with your money.
Okay, so taxes, check. What about investing?
Another big one?
I know this is important, but it can be intimidating.
It doesn't have to be.
Really?
Nisha warns about letting your money just sit in a bank account. Inflation can slowly eat away at your savings, making it less valuable over time.
Oh, I've heard that. But it's hard to really grasp.
It is, but think about it this way. Investing puts your money to work for you.
Instead of it just sitting there.
Right. It's like the difference between letting your car rust in the garage or actually taking it out for a spin and keeping it in good condition.
Oh, I like that analogy.
And don't forget about diversification, spreading your investments across different asset classes.
Right. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
And the earlier you start investing, the more time your money has to grow. That compound interest is a powerful force.
Okay, so paying ourselves first, building that emergency fund, tracking our spending, being mindful of our hobbies, increasing our income, understanding taxes, and investing early. Anything else we need to watch out for.
One last thing. Stop comparing yourself to others.
Ugh, yes, the comparison trap.
It's so easy to get caught up in the comparison game, especially with social media showcasing everyone's highlight reel.
Everyone's living their best life, supposedly.
Right, but you need to focus on your own financial journey, celebrate your own progress, and don't let someone else's story derail your own.
So true. Comparison truly is the thief of joy. It's
Right.
important to remember that everyone's situation is different.
Absolutely. Everyone's on their own path.
And that actually leads us perfectly into the next part of our deep dive. We've tackled those bad money habits, but now let's explore how much money you actually need to achieve financial freedom. To help us figure that out, we're going to tap into the wisdom of Wint Wealth and their interview with Monica Halen.
Oh, she's great.
She's a total rock star in the personal finance world, right?
Yeah.
Best-selling author, advisor to SEBI on investor protection. I mean, she knows her stuff.
For sure.
And one of the first things she points out is that financial independence doesn't necessarily mean never working again.
It's not about just retiring early.
Exactly. It's about having that financial security, that freedom to make choices that align with your values without money constantly dictating your options, right?
Absolutely. It's about options.
So it's more about having that freedom, those choices, not just, sitting on a beach somewhere.
Right. It's about being in control.
But how do we figure out how much is enough? How do we figure out that magic number for financial freedom?
Well, Monica lays out a couple of approaches in the video.
Okay, let's hear it.
One is called the multiplier method.
Multiplier method, okay.
So you think about your annual expenses when you're, let's say, 60 years old.
Okay, looking at.
And of course, you have to factor in inflation because things are going to be more expensive in the future.
Right, inflation. Can't forget about that.
Then you take that number, your estimated annual expenses at 60, and you multiply it by 26.
26. Why 26?
That gives you a pretty good estimate of how much you'll need for a comfortable retirement without eating into your principal too quickly.
Oh, I see. So you're not depleting your savings too fast.
Exactly. It's about sustainability.
Okay, so it's all about planning ahead and trying to figure out what our expenses might be down the road.
Right, thinking long term.
But what if you're not ready to do all that number crunching? What if you just want a simpler approach?
Monica also suggests some age-based milestones.
Okay, I like milestones. They're easier to grasp.
So the idea is you aim to have 3 times your annual income saved by the time you're 40.
3 times by 40, got it.
then 6 times your annual income by 50 and 8 times by 60.
Okay, those are some good targets to shoot for.
They're like guideposts along the way.
I like them. They give you something concrete to work towards.
Exactly. It's a roadmap. But remember, these are just guidelines.
Of course, everyone's situation is different.
Your personal situation, your goals, those all play a big role in determining your own magic number.
Makes sense.
So grab a calculator and do some figuring.
Do some figuring. Figure out what works for you.
Exactly.
Now, Monica also talks about some traditional investment options like EPF, PPF, and MPS.
Yeah, those are the classics.
Can you give us a quick rundown of those?
Sure. So EPF and PPF, she highlights those as a really solid foundation for long-term savings.
They're kind of like the workhorses of your investment portfolio.
Yeah, I like that analogy. They offer stability and decent returns over time.
Then there's NPS, the National Pension System.
It's not a bad option, especially if you don't have EPF.
But there's a bit of a catch with NPS, right?
Yeah, the mandatory purchase of annuities at retirement, that can be a bit of a sticking point for some people.
It's not very flexible.
Right, it limits your control over your retirement funds, and
Yeah.
it kind of puts a lot of reliance on insurance companies.
I see. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something to consider carefully.
Definitely weigh the pros and cons.
Okay, so we've got those traditional investment options, but what about managing money within a family? Monica shares some interesting insights on that as well.
Oh yeah, she gets real about it.
She emphasizes the importance of open communication
Absolutely. Got to talk about money.
and shared decision-making.
It's a team effort.
And she doesn't sugarcoat it. She actually advocates for letting the smarter person take the lead, regardless of gender.
Love her honesty.
It's about recognizing each other's strengths and working together as a team, right?
It's playing to your strengths.
Now that brings up another important point she makes, the importance of financial literacy for women.
Oh, that's crucial.
It's about empowering women to take control of their financial well-being.
They need to be in the driver's seat.
Monica points out that women are often socialized to shy away from financial matters,
It's like it's taboo or something.
and that can lead to a cycle of dependence.
Yeah, not good.
It's a wake-up call, for sure. Women need to be active participants in managing their finances.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
It's not just about knowing where the money is, but understanding how it works and feeling confident making those financial decisions.
Right. Taking ownership.
Speaking of future generations, Monica also emphasizes the importance of instilling good money habits in children.
Oh, yeah. Start them young.
They learn by observing our behavior, so it's crucial that we model responsible spending and saving habits.
They're little sponges. They absorb everything.
So we need to set a good example,
But definitely lead by example.
like planting those financial seeds early on so they can grow into financially savvy adults.
Exactly. Give them the tools they need to succeed.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from busting bad money habits to figuring out our financial freedom number, and even touching on family finances and empowering women. Before we wrap things up, let's take a second, just a moment to reflect on what we've learned today. We started by tackling those sneaky bad money habits, the ones that can really hold us back.
Right.
Like paying ourselves last instead of first, getting too comfortable with debt, not tracking our expenses, just letting the money slip through our fingers,
Happens to the best of us.
splurging on those expensive hobbies, thinking that saving alone is enough,
Right. Got to have multiple strategies.
paying more taxes than we actually need to,
Nobody wants to do that.
waiting too long to invest, and that comparison trap.
The comparison trap.
Then we moved on, we shifted gears and explored, well, how much money do you actually need to achieve that financial freedom?
The big question.
We looked at Monica's insights on the multiplier method,
Yeah, good stuff.
age-based milestones, those traditional investment options like EPF and PPF,
The classics.
and of course the importance of understanding those annuity requirements that come with MPS.
Right. Got to read the fine print.
And we can't forget about the importance of open communication about finances within families
So important.
and empowering women to take control of their financial lives.
Absolutely.
It's been a really great deep dive today.
Tons of information.
But here's a final thought for you all before we go. What's one small step, just one, that you can take today, right now, to improve your financial habits or move closer to your goals?
What's that one thing you can do right now to make a difference?
Could it be setting up that automatic transfer to your savings account? Finally creating a budget that actually works for you? Or maybe just doing some research, exploring different investment options?
There's always something you can do, even if it's small.
Remember, this deep dive It's just the beginning, the starting point.
There's a whole world of resources out there to help you on your financial journey.
Books, podcasts, websites, financial advisors.
Don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
With knowledge and consistent effort, you really can achieve financial well-being and create a future where money is no longer a source of stress,
It can be a source of empowerment.
but a tool to help you achieve your dreams, whatever those dreams may be.
So go out there and make those money moves. You got this.
You got this. That's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.